Vocation, education, I know well, let me stick with seniors for the moment.
Okay.
Healthcare
Okay.
would be cut at the senior centers and other kinds of
Meals on Wheels, food at the senior center, nutrition programs in the schools. Okay.
Right.
What about the
children.
the children? Yeah.
Well, Head Start, all education funding, all federal education programs would be cut.
All federal.
So we're talking about Head Start.
Do we know in Britain how much Head Start would be cut?
It's hard to say, but with 3,000, it's hard to see it not being a significant impact on us.
Okay.
You know, to be honest with you, it will hit all major cities in Connecticut.
Oh, I'm reading it wrong. 300.
So 300 what in Head Start? 300?
300, close to
370.
400 across the state.
Close to 400 across the state, but there would be
Head
there would be dozens that would be affected. Let's be
Okay.
sorry, three.
Dozens of children.
Dozens of children in New Britain will be affected directly.
And then we're talking about skill training.
I was looking at the special education, which would affect 3,000 students.
Special education.
3,000 children, 3,000 students in.
Statewide would be affected by the special
So
education.
again, hundreds
cuts.
of students in New Britain, I would say it's fair to say.
So hundreds of students in New Britain as far as the special education goes. And what's going to be cut from special education specifically?
Money to provide for teachers and school aides.
Okay.
That's
So
no
this,
deal.
so this would be a huge hit for our school district.
So what, Senator, what,
A huge cut. Let me hit can be interpreted both ways.
would be, be a huge cut for our school districts?
Yeah.
How many towns are you visiting today, like New Britain? How many of these are you doing today?
I'm visiting New Britain. We may visit other towns and cities today. I'm going to be, you know, I'm focusing on New Britain for
Okay.
today
Okay.
because I don't want to, you know, I think that this story, the New Britain story is so compelling because it is a city working hard to revive its economy. And, you know, I keep coming back to jobs.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the loss of jobs has a ripple effect.
Right.
If you look at the businesses right outside this building, they will have fewer customers because people will have less to spend,
Right.
which will mean they'll employ fewer people. So the effect on jobs and the economy will ripple throughout. I'm going to be in Hartford later today.
Over throughout the region, I guess, and
Yeah.
the state, region, state.
Exactly.
Okay, gotcha. Mayor, go ahead.
And we're
sorry.
going to be doing probably another event, a bigger event, probably on Monday.
Bigger event where?
Well, I'm going to be talking about this issue in Middlesex County,
Okay.
so I'm really trying to go around the state.
So you're going around the state over the next week or so?
Yeah,
Okay.
well, over the next few days.
All right, what's your, if you had to give a percentage of, what percentage-wise do you think that this will not happen? Sequester on March 1st. What, would you say it's better than 50-50 or?
I'm still hopeful,
Okay.
but at this point, avoiding it is an uphill battle because there is so much partisan gridlock in Washington. And that's why I am working to put together a bipartisan coalition.
And you'll be able to get that bipartisan coalition, you think?
Well, there are certainly people on both sides of the aisle that want to avoid sequester. And I'm particularly concerned about the defense cuts for jobs in Connecticut, but also our national security, I believe will be in peril. The defense cuts will be about 13%.
What did you say? Maybe you mentioned the number, and I forgive me. Defense cuts in Connecticut again. How many in Connecticut are there?
34,000 jobs
34,000 jobs in Connecticut
related to defense
would be
lost.
related to defense would be lost.
But remember that the defense cuts would be about 13%
Okay.
for the remainder of the fiscal year.
Okay.
The domestic non-military cuts would be about 9%. So the defense cuts would actually be bigger percentage-wise than the domestic non-military.
So 34,000 jobs related to defense would be lost in Connecticut. And what's another number in Connecticut you can give me as far as specifics? Losing jobs related to something else?
Well, we would lose jobs related to the Head Start program.
Do you have a number? How many?
We don't have a number.
Okay.
You know, oh, well, I'm sorry, we do have, well, we have a number, yes, we do have a number, about 130 jobs related to Head Start would be lost.
In the state?
In the state. Special education,
Okay.
we would lose about 70 jobs.
Wow. So obviously the big hit is defense. That's the big one right
Yeah.
there. Okay. Okay, so 130 Head Starts to 70 special education. Mayor, what would you want to say related to what should people know about this?
Obviously, as mayor, the public services are on the front. I'm on the front line of delivering public services to people, and these kind of federal cuts would be just devastating for our community at so many different levels. We would have cuts to nearly every program that benefits our city that is funded by the federal government, from education to community services.
Senior Center.
Nutrition programs for seniors would be cut. School nutrition. I mean, people depend on these things to be able to have decent lives. And it would just make much more sense to, as a nation, have a balanced compromise, as the senator is trying to lead Congress to do.
Are there any names, Senator, that who on the Republican side are you working, who might be able to work with you on this compromise? Is there any names you can give me? Or?
You know, I hesitate to mention specific names because I wouldn't do it without their permission.
I understand. Okay, but you're optimistic, you said, right? You're
Well,
optimistic.
no, I'm not optimistic we can avoid it. I think it.
Optimistic you can work together in trying to avoid it.
I think that there'll be senators who will work hard to try to avoid it, but it's
Gotcha.
still an uphill battle because we have so little time. And the president's reaching out to the Republican leadership.
Mm-hmm.
I know my Democratic colleagues are working with me in trying to craft a bipartisan solution. But this, you know, I keep coming back to the economy.
Right.
You know, we really need to make our focus economic recovery and growing jobs. And that's where my focus has been. And I hope that Washington will heed this call when they hear about what the effect on New Britain will be, because it's the human factor and the effect on real people that I think can carry the day.
So Mayor, and then I think I'm set after this. How many people would you say there have been? Dozens of people in New Britain affected? Hundreds of people in New Britain affected? How many, what would you say?
You know, especially with the defense job losses that would happen, I know that there are a lot of people in New Britain who have those jobs, and the senator is absolutely right. We are working hard here in our local government as well as in our community to pull ourselves out of the economic doldrums to a better future.
Right. You say there were hundreds of people affected. Is that safe to say?
It's hard to say
Hard to say
the precise number, but with that quantity, if it's 34,000 people statewide,
Right.
it probably is in the hundreds.
And,
that
you
would
know,
be-
it's not, without,
You're probably right,
without,
it probably is in the hundreds, you know.
we don't
Just like
have,
one.
we really, even the 34,000 number,
Right.
you know, is an estimate.
Sure, I
It's
understand.
not a hard number.
I understand.
But there's no question that individuals will be affected
Mhm.
in job losses in towns and cities like New Britain, where people are machinists and skilled computer
People, yeah.
people, but also, you know, the folks who
Seniors and the kids. and-
operate, well, I'm talking about employment.
Right,
You know,
right, I
I'm-
understand.
These jobs are the kinds of jobs that people in New Britain have.
That's absolutely right. Many of our factories are heavy into defense contracting.
Even if they're not directly related to a Department of Defense contract, they are often suppliers.
So let me get that, so manufacturers are heavy into defense contracting, so they'll be hit too. Okay, obviously, they'll be hit. Do we know how many we have? Do we have like a dozen of those, 5 of those?
There's, depends on the quantity. Some do more defense work than others. But if we lose this quantity of work, it would be a serious setback for our local economy.
And I just want to emphasize that, you know, even though avoiding sequester will be extraordinarily difficult,
Right.
I'm going to be working right to
Right to the end.
Right
Takes
to
effect,
the-
what, March 1st,
March
midnight?
1, right.
Okay.
I will be working right to the deadline to avoid these consequences.
Well, I think I'm set. If there's anything at all that I can have, that would be great. I don't want to take your stuff, but if there's anything that you can give me, like an extra copy of, that would be great.
I think we can give you this study. I don't know, you know, it contains a lot of,
How about these things? This is
yeah, maybe,
that's
I
kind of
can do
stuff
this,
for
thank you so much.
for the education.
These are